Salesforce is like, imagine like rocket science 30 years ago, and then somebody found like a way to just completely simplify it to where it's like you press a button and you know exactly where the rocket is going to go, how it's going to get there, how fast, all, like that's what Salesforce is. Back then, in order for you to like, change like a little field on a page, you had to like go in there and code for, an hour and change, all kinds of variables and this and that. Nowadays, it's like, oh, done. So yes, you can do this. If you can work a mouse, you can do Salesforce. It's as easy as that.
I'm Shaniqua. My current role right now is business analyst. So I am the one that gathers requirements on the calls with the clients. And then me and the project manager and the solution architect later will go over what solutions we've come up with to then, deploy for the client. But yeah, you do.
All right. My name is Heather, and my official title is Project Lead Business Analyst, which is a lot of words for just saying I'm a, just Salesforce business analyst. And a little bit of my daily task, includes, some of the same things: gather user stories, work help tickets. I realized that about 75% of my job is asking users if they have refreshed their cache or like stuff like that. Have you cleared your cache? Hey, have you like tried closing your browser and opening it back up? And then it's like, oh, hey, it works now. That's my job. That's what I do.
That is awesome. So effectively, both of you guys are Salesforce magicians, and you tell someone to clear their cache, and somehow you're just an amazing IT professional that they could never understand the complexities of what you do. It's a beautiful thing. I love that, and I've enjoyed that about my career too, is just being this person that just does all these magical things and no one quite understands what's happening. It's sort of a nice thing. All right, so. The audience at this point clearly knows that I think we've got two people in the room. So if you wouldn't mind sharing how you guys know each other, and I think once you like sort of let us know how you guys know each other, maybe share a little bit about how you both decided at the same time, or at least right around the same time, that Salesforce careers were something you wanted to transition into, and you both sort of agreed on that concept. I'm personally very interested. So for anyone listening or watching, I don't know this story yet. So I'm really excited to understand, how you guys know each other, and then how you guys decided we both at the same time want to be Salesforce professionals and transition. It's a really interesting concept. Yeah.
So we both spent I was there a little bit longer than him. I started before he did at a major healthcare insurance company. We were both pharmacy technicians. So we were doing prior authorizations for Medicare Part D for them. So I ended up being like a trainer for like the incoming classes that were coming in. So he ended up coming in like 2 or 3 classes after me. So we were just co-workers at the insurance company. And so there we would have like gatherings with other co-workers and stuff like that. So that's where we met each other, and then we started dating, and we ended up getting married like 2 or 3 years after that. So yeah, that's how we know each other.
Yeah, awesome.
All right, and then the Salesforce is a little bit more of a longer story. Okay, so my best friend had his wife, right, his ex-wife now. Her cousin lives in Dallas, and he is a Salesforce, administrator. And back in 2016, my best friend told me, hey, my wife has a cousin who works from home and makes like $65 an hour. He has like a huge house, really cool job. He does some like IT stuff, but he said we got to learn how to, program and get into it. And I was like, oh, that's great. I wouldn't mind learning how to program. And so we got into like Python, and we explored Trailhead a little bit, but we didn't really know where to go and what to do. So then I got a new job, which was the job at the healthcare company. And so I kind of like put it off to the side, so much to the point that I like forgot about it until earlier last year, which was crazy because there was, like stuff going on in the stock market, and I was like following, different stocks and this and that. And one day I ran across an article that was like, oh, Salesforce acquisition of Slack. And I was like, hey, I know what Salesforce is. I remember that. There was like this like website with like all these like colors and cartoons and stuff. What was that website called? So then I go and I look at it, and I was like, oh, Trailhead, yeah. So I was like, let me go to YouTube, and see what like the Salesforce things is like, because if my cousin's best friend was doing it and he was like working from home and making all this money, then maybe I could do the same thing. If I got to learn how to program, that's not a deal breaker, because I already know how to program a little bit. So then I went on YouTube, and you were like the second or third video I ran into, and just like all this amazing like wealth of knowledge, and I was like, oh my god, like this is amazing, and she wasn't home at the time when I was like going through this epitome, and I was like, oh my god, like, hey, this is awesome, like this is great, I can do this, because to a certain extent, we're already kind of like end users. Like if we work at a call center, the system that we put our information to, it's not Salesforce, but it's a CRM. It works the same. You can add fields, take away fields, stuff like that. So, and I was like, oh man, this is mind blowing. So when she got home, I was like, I found my next job, and I'm going to quit my job at some point this year. And she was like, what are you talking about? Mind you, at this point, she had like gone with all my crazy ideas. Like I wanted to be a streamer. And, I wanted to do like volunteer firefighting, and I wanted to do all these, sort of like, side gigs to, try to improve our family's financials. And then she was like, what are you talking about now? And I was like, no, look, listen, you got to hear me out. Like, this is great, And then I was like, I explained to her like what it was, what it is. And then I showed her your videos, and then we kind of both started watching your videos over the next couple of days. And we were just like, man, like, I know that it's true because my best friend wouldn't lie to me. So I kind of had like a different perspective. Like I came at it knowing like, okay, this is a real possibility, because I know somebody that is, that is telling me, hey, this person actually does this, And so when everybody else on YouTube, you and all the other channels out there were saying like, oh yeah, the great money, like if your, first job is paying like $30 an hour, you're getting like, shorted. I was like, oh man, like, wow, like, hey. So I showed her the video, and then we just kind of like, we just decided like, yeah, this is something we
did the 5-day
we did the 5-day challenge. Yeah, we kind of like, at first we kind of like got lost on Trailhead. We were just doing like random trails, like how to speak publicly, how to how to watch turtles cross a river or something, like it was just like a bunch of different stuff, like, and we were like, okay, so we gotta like center ourselves, like what is it we gotta do? So we went back to your videos, and there you have a video which was like, okay, you got to go to like certifications and go down this trail. Don't like go just, willy-nilly around Trailhead, because there's like 10,000 badges and you'll never finish. So we found the trail, and then we just, hit the ground running. By the time we did finish the 5-day challenge, we were like 25% done with the trail. And then, yeah, that's basically how, we got into Salesforce.
Yeah, that's so cool. So I love that. So it's finally coming together for me. And it's this idea that you guys have your own personal life and you work together. And obviously that came together into something that, I mean, I love you guys as a couple. It is so cool. And just hearing your story of, like you're doing your thing and you're off, you just always have a new idea. I'm sure like once a week, once a month, you just have a new transition that's about to happen. And I can relate to that. I mean, I'm all over the place too. And then you've got a wonderful wife that is willing to deal with all of this chaos and just support you through all these insane ideas. And then finally one of them clicks, and it's like, okay, that idea actually sort of holds water. Like I can see this making sense. And then you've got a friend who is helping sort of support it and say, yeah, like it's legitimate. This you could do this. And yeah, I definitely see all of that coming together. So you guys were just ready for change. And I guess I would like to understand what was it? Was it just the fact that, we're millennials, or we're in this world that's transitioning and there's so much opportunity? I guess, what was it where you were saying you wanted change? Was it just money? Was it remote work? What was it that was making you guys, both think I'm at least somewhat either unhappy or not convinced that this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my career? So what was it about your current situation where you thought we need to make a change and move in a direction that maybe has more opportunity or whatever it was?
For me, honestly, because the company that we worked for was bought out we were 2 years in. So it was a completely different company than it was when we first started working there. When we first started working there, there was a clear path for growth. So we felt good with that. But then when it was bought out, they implied a lot of changes. And so it cut out a lot of the things that we had to look forward to. A lot of that was wiped out, and they just kind of limited the department to where you could either do this. Most things were lateral moves. It was you could never progress anywhere. So we both, especially when the pandemic happened, it just gave us an opportunity to just really look into changing our careers, to see just basically somewhere where we could grow throughout the company in a career path where we could really grow, because we had just ran into a wall. Where we were.
Yeah. And for me, it was just, I was highly, dissatisfied with my job. We had, like I said, we have been working there for, 5 years in total. But 2 years in, we got bought out by another company. And, it just, it turns out that when a company buys another company, they always try to like nickel and dime the other company to try to get as much of their money back. And that includes, with the, workers. So there was like Shaniqua said, there was no opportunity for growth anymore. It was just, you do this and that's what you do. But on top of that, it was also the fact that we had, before we got bought out, we had progressed into a different kind of like department within our department, where we weren't like taking calls, from like angry customers all the time, because we had been working there so long. And then when we got bought out, we got put back into the phones just like everybody else, And so it was just dealing with angry people all day, every day, again, even though you had like worked your way out of that. So it not only felt like there was no position to grow, it also felt like you were, kind of regressing.
So I think the interesting thing there is that that's almost always the case, if not always the case. Like when someone's looking to transition their career, there's something underlying, right? There's something where there's an energy brewing up where you're going like, I gotta change something. And if I don't change something, I think I might regret just sitting here in the same situation. And I'm gonna look up 10 years from now and wish I'd done something different. So I think there's people who find direction and they do something about it. And then there's people who find an excuse, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but they find enough excuses to say, you know what, I just got to stick with what I got because what I got's good, and I'm just going to stick with that. And it can go either way. And I think fortunately for you guys, you found some direction, and there were enough things clicking. You knew somebody, and you found Trailhead, and you'd heard about Salesforce and maybe a news article, and you went, okay, there's enough clicking that I don't think I can excuse myself from this direction anymore.
Right.
So that's just amazing, and I'm really glad that happened for you guys. And there's so many reasons, people hit plateaus, sort of like what you talked about, where you just don't see the upward direction that might happen next, or you just don't see 10 years from now making substantially more pay than you make today. And maybe there's no opportunity for remote, or you're commuting too much, or whatever the case may be. There are a number of reasons why people, move from what they're doing today to something different. But there are also a lot of great excuses. So when you guys made this transition, you had a child, correct? Like, I mean, this is more than just you guys hanging out, deciding like, oh, before life gets real, let's go ahead and have some fun. Life was already real for you guys. So I think that's important to point out. And I would love to hear, you're making this transition together. You're both still working at the same company. You're both going home, knowing what you're up to, kind of doing your thing and getting ready to pivot careers. I think I want to start with, what were some of the challenges of having a family and both being employed and having to do, jobs 40 hours a week, and then deciding we're gonna career transition on the side? What were some of the challenges you guys were up against that you wish people better understood before they dive in head first?
I would say, because when we started studying for our admin and stuff fully, our son was 1.5. He was about to be 2. So he's at a very rambunctious age. So for the most part, he stays with his grandma during the day. And so he's there till about a certain time. So from the time we get off of work every day to when we have to go pick him up, we have 3 hours, maybe. So we tried to study every day as much as we could in those 3 hours. So we would go through as much as we could. He would often try to, stay behind if he went ahead and got through a module and I was like kind of stuck on it. And I told him, no, just go ahead and get as much done as you can while he's away. If I get stuck, I'll work through it. I'll get, to where I can. If I can tomorrow while I'm at work, during my lunch, I'll sneak in and get in and catch up with you. So yeah, that's kind of how we did it. We just had to take any extra time that we had when he wasn't here and really utilize it. Sometimes we would stay up when he went to sleep at night. And if I didn't catch up with him, or if we would try to get ahead so that we could kind of take a break on the weekend, we would just stay up and get some of it done while he was asleep so that we could spend the weekend with him. So it was just balancing out, making sure we had enough time to study during the day so that we could go ahead and get out of our situation, because we didn't want to take too long and it take the whole year. Because when he brought it to me, I'm like, okay, so December of 2022, we should be about to go. And he's like, no, in like 3 or 4 months. And I'm like, of this year? So I'm like, oh, okay, say less. So anytime we could study, we were studying. So we would just find that time and then also spend time with him. But yeah, it was just the balancing act. It was,
Yeah, the time management, definitely, for sure. I mean, it did help that before, we got our Salesforce jobs, we already worked from home. Even before COVID, we already worked from home. So, working from home does have, certain benefits, like when stuff slows down at the call center, like when you don't receive as many calls, you can easily fit like a little, module in there, like, hey, I'm just gonna go learn what, page layout is real quick. And, stuff like that. Or, there's certain modules during the admin intro that's just like quizzes at the end that are like worth like 100 points. You can easily like read, through the article and then answer that question like between calls or something. Like you don't have to do like a big project, and then you leave the big projects for, when you get off of work, those 3 hours that we had. And then, you just cry when you do super badges because that's what everybody does.
Yeah.
No, we got the super badges for the weekends.
For sure.
So all that being said, and I know each one of your stories is while you guys are doing this together, you also have a unique, story that goes into this. So I guess how many hours ballpark do you think you were putting in a week? And then how long was it from, joining the Talent Stacker program to landing your Salesforce job? And I know this was different for each one of you. But I would like to hear, why do you think there was a difference, and how was your journey different, even though you're living in the same house, going through this together? What differences did you guys see in the journey? So I know I ask a lot of questions there, but it was, like how many hours per week do you think you're dedicating to this transition? About how long did it take to go from, joining to landing a job? And then what makes your stories unique? Like, is there anything just drastically unique about the two journeys you guys were on?
It took us roughly 3 months. We joined in the very end of May. I remember it because it was Memorial Day weekend. We were coming back from the beach when we joined. And then we both got certified like mid-August. So it was like right there at 3 months. But yeah, we dedicated 20 to 30 hours per week. And then we would just study and practice taking the practice test. And we just stayed on the same path pretty much. We didn't go ahead of the other one, and we would just continue to stay together, and we tested together and passed it. He passed like 3 days before I did because we couldn't take it on the same day. Somebody had to watch the baby. But yeah, we passed it in August. So then you translate and from studying every day in those times to now studying the videos on how to interview, how to, properly explain what Talent Stacker is and what experience you do have, and then preparing for the volunteer project at the same time. So now we're, gathering the requirements and getting our hands into the volunteer project and trying to, make sure your LinkedIn is together, and then replying from recruiters because they just like bombard you when you post you passed your test. And so you're balancing all of that now in those 3 hours, or applying to jobs and doing all of those things. So for him, this is where it differs, because he passed on August like 13th or something like that, and I was like 2 or 3 days later. After that, how long did it take for you to get your job?
Okay, so after I passed my test, I posted on LinkedIn on a Monday, because I always post on LinkedIn on Mondays in the mornings. I feel like that's the best time to post, because if you post like on a Friday, if I took my test on a Friday, if I would have posted that Friday afternoon that I passed, it would have just like sank to the bottom of, you know, the LinkedIn universe. So I waited till Monday morning to post. And so I posted, and so did she. We both posted at the same time, you know, that we had passed our test and we were, you know, certified administrators. And I think maybe like 2 or 3 hours later, my current boss, who's the, you know, program manager at my current job, she writes me a message and she's like, hey, you know, I saw your LinkedIn profile. I'm really impressed. You know, I would like to set up for an interview. So I posted on Monday morning. The next day was my interview, like the next day. So I didn't have time to go through, you know, like all the 60K and like, you know, watch the videos and learn about interview prep. I didn't have time for any of that. Like it was like the next day. So I rushed over there and I saw maybe like 1 or 2 Justin videos, and I was like, okay, this is, you know, this is as good as it's gonna get. I mean, that's it. It's tomorrow, you know. So next day I get ready, you know, have all my stuff, you know. And it's just like completely different than anything I would expect. She, you know, is super, super sweet. She's asking a bunch of like, you know, questions about myself and, you know, why I like Salesforce. Kind of like, you know, just a conversation like me and you are having right now. And, you know, after I finished having the conversation with her, I looked at Shaniqua and I was like, I think I got that job.
Yeah.
I think I got that job. Like, I was
like, you got the job. Because I was like over here on the couch. He was over there interviewing. I'm like, she likes you. She likes you a lot. She was laughing the whole time. It's her personality, but she was laughing the whole time. And I'm like, I think you got it.
Yeah. And then I interviewed a couple days later with, you know, my coworkers, my team now. And, you know, they also like me. So it was a really quick experience from the moment that I posted that I passed my test to the day that I got hired. I think it was like a total of like maybe like a month and like 2 or 3 days. Like it was, and the whole month and, you know, 2 or 3 days, you have to count the time that, you know, HR was like reaching out. I had to, you know, it's a health insurance company. So I had to, you know, obviously take my drug test and like a tobacco test, you know, a background check, all the, you know, sort of good stuff. And all that takes time. You know, I found out that I was going to get the job, you know, basically because she told me after like my second interview. She's like, hey, you know, just heads up, HR recruiter's going to reach out, like, you know, it's you. So I was like, oh, you know, and officially it's me, you know. But then once I got that offer letter, it was like, okay, it's me. Like, okay, this is for sure. And so after that, after I got my job, 100% of my attention went to helping Shaniqua land her job.
Yeah, let's move on to the next story, because we know, like, from that little, you know, foreshadow that, you know, we had a few months to, you know, I'm sure you're looking back and going, hey, well, this happened for you in like a week. How fast is this going to happen for me? And like, what am I about to go through? So yeah, I would love to hear now your story from certification to job landed, Shaniqua.
So yeah, it took me about 4 months from when I got the certification to when I got my offer letter. It was like a little bit over 4 months, like 4 months and a week. But yeah, during that whole time, I'm like, in the beginning part, I'm like, okay, it had to be rare that she would reach out to you like that. And that just so happens to be the job that you got. So it didn't bother me like the first month, maybe month and a half. But then the longer that it took, the more it started to get to me, especially speaking with recruiters who would then ghost you and then pop back up like a month later, like, oh, I didn't fall off the face of the earth. How are you? Do you want, like, no, leave me alone. So then, and then you have the jobs that then will interview you, and then you don't hear from them for like a month, and then they randomly send you a letter that's like, oh, thank you for your interest. And you're like, I completely forgot that I even interviewed with, who is this? So it was dealing with all of that, and then also going through the full like interview process, going through the initial interview, going through case studies, and then interviewing, really feeling like you got the job just for them to say, oh, we went in a different direction for whatever reason they chose to. So it did begin to weigh on me the longer it went. And at one point it was really heavy on me, and he told me to take a break, and I had to.
Mhm.
I had to take a break. I took like a whole week off to where I didn't do anything Salesforce. I didn't do any trails. I didn't open my laptop at all. I just went to work every day. I would watch YouTube or go to Target and buy unnecessary things, and just really relax and just, spend time with my son and just do things that didn't have anything to do with Salesforce. We didn't talk about it, just to give myself a break from it, because it was becoming too much. And then actually after that, I'm talking maybe 2 or 3 weeks after that, I applied for the job that I ended up getting. And it was just like when he applied and he spoke with his boss now. From the very first interview, we both was like,
You got it.
I think I'm gonna get it.
I think becoming like a clear pattern in this is the ability you both had to lean on each other through this process. And I think you were probably, supporting each other, definitely, but then also teaching each other, which was giving you better understanding of what you were doing and why you were doing it. Not just in the technical aspect, but also in the interview aspect and the why are we transitioning with our lives? And okay, we're still doing the right thing. Like, it makes sense that we're still focused on this because we're looking for this change in our lives. So I think that is just awesome that you guys supported each other. And I think for anyone listening to this, that is why so much, 99.9% of people are not doing this with their spouse.
Right.
So you have to lean into the community that exists in the greater Salesforce Ohana, inside of the Talent Stacker communities. You have got to click up with some people, because if you don't, you're just giving yourself a disadvantage, because when the time gets hard, you don't have anybody to call or text or private message on social or whatever else. You just
I would even add, Bradley, to that, because even though we had each other, we still seek the community, when either one of us just didn't
figure it out.
have it. So the community is invaluable, even if you have like your spouse is doing it with you too. It's invaluable.
Moving forward, I guess what advice do you have for other people? Maybe they're already in the program, or maybe they're not in the program, but they're still on this journey together and they're working on that. So what advice would you have for other couples who are either already in this journey, or they're thinking maybe we could do this together just like these people did? Like, what advice would you have for those individuals?
Just dedicate the time to learning it, because I'm not going to say that it's just that easy. You have to be dedicated to it, and you have to be disciplined to it. Have good time management, because it's up to you to go in there and study those trailheads and really understand it, and then put in the time to really develop your skills in it, so that when you do get to that interviewing process, you can really show that you know what you're doing. So, I feel like anybody can do it. And if you feel that you can dedicate the time and you really want that change for yourself, and you're going to put in, the work, then you can do it. Anybody.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And yeah, there's like sort of this phrase that's come to mind for me, I think, in the last few weeks. And it's not whether or not you can do this. It's whether or not you're ready to do this. And like you guys said, put in that work. Well, thank you both for taking the time out on a weekend to come hang out with me and talk about your stories. And I think, if you don't know, I'll tell you, this is going to inspire so many people to make a change in their lives, whether it's Salesforce or just having the motivation to say, there's something I want, and I'm going to go get it. So I certainly appreciate you guys taking the time out to do this.